Welcome to Who You Were with Patrick Noth and Sebastian Canelli. In each episode, we ask our guests to talk about a time in their life when they were significantly different.
I was just telling Sebastian, I read Trevor Noah's book. And
awesome.
I couldn't fucking believe it.
Did you read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I didn't, I wouldn't admit it here to you guys.
Yeah. Did you fucking read that shit? Your boss's book?
That fucking clown show. No. It's a sob story.
And I don't know, I might be like, it might be because he's British or something. Like, I always just kind of was like, oh, he's probably like went to a prep school or something, you know, like.
No, that
I
accent,
could not believe.
that accent throws a lot of people off.
Yeah.
It's not British. It's South African mixture. Like, a lot of people hear him and think like, this guy had it all going for him, you know?
Right.
And he's the exact opposite.
I cannot believe that his story is so crazy. I would highly recommend.
Well, if I read books, I would read it, but.
Hey, you know.
I do audiobooks.
Do you? I'm reading a book right now, so I try.
Or just find somebody like who you see reading on the street and just ask him to give you the gist of it. That's all. That's enough.
You want to know something fucking stupid? So my buddy I live with, I don't know, one morning he's just sitting there and he's reading The Great Gatsby, and I start making fun of him for reading The Great Gatsby because I'm like, you're fucking 30 years old, you're sitting on the couch reading The Great Gatsby, blah blah blah. I'm going in, and then and then after a while, you could only make fun of someone for so long without them like pushing back, right? And then I'm like broken. I go, so what's it about? And he starts going chapter by chapter. So now my boy's reading The Great Gatsby, and every other fucking day he's telling me what he read in that chapter. So
I just imagine you on the floor, like knees crossed, just listening to him, like he's reading you the story.
It's actually the sweetest thing I've ever done. Is heard The Great Gatsby secondhand.
I mean, the thing about like all these like old novels is their plots usually aren't that great. The writing and the characterization is what's supposed to be good. So I think there's a lot of stuff where, a lot of books like Great Gatsby, where if you were to say like, what's the book about? Just in a synopsis, like, this guy goes to a party and some other rich guy gets shot. It's like, why is that a good book?
Wait, someone gets shot? I'm not up to that part
I'm so
yet.
sorry.
No, I mean, I read it back in the day. But no, my boy's selling it. He's really selling the play. He's making sure. He's like telling a child what The Great Gatsby is.
I'm going to go like ask him. I'm going to go ask him if I can see that book. And it's going to be like he's reading Goodnight Moon to you.
That was a movie too, right? Wasn't it a movie?
Goodnight Moon? No, it's too simple.
Yeah. Goodnight Moon.
Hey, 3-hour Kurosawa epic.
It was Sir Ian McKellen and Goodnight Moon.
Like
Great
that was
Gatsby,
like where
right?
all I know about that is the Leonardo DiCaprio memes that came out of that, where he's like raising the glass.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I never saw that. I don't want to.
Yeah,
You know what I do? Movies I don't want to see. I go, I'm not going to see that shit. But you know what I did see? I saw Glass. Oh, what a waste of time.
that's the third one of the Shyamalan adventure.
Yeah.
I've not seen the first two. I never saw Unbreakable, and
It doesn't
I'm
matter.
not going to get into the trilogy now.
No, you shouldn't get into it. It fucking sucked. I was high as balls and barely laughed.
Yeah.
I'm doing a bad job, Patrick?
No, just a little closer.
Can you believe I do this every week and I still don't know how to talk in the
This is a
microphone?
very comfortable setup you guys have. I thought it was going to be
thank
like
you.
at a table where it was going to be us like leaning into the mic, but I'm like on a very nice, comfy, easy chair.
You kidding me? I usually do a pillow behind my head. I'm fucking
very nice.
relaxed.
Yeah,
You guys have a problem with people falling asleep halfway through these things?
Right. If you're listening at home, I told them to lie about how nice the setup was before we started recording.
Yeah, we're all at those ball chairs. Good posture's on its way.
Okay, this is the studio, so you're going to bounce the whole time.
Yeah. The bouncing is how the power operates. If you stop bouncing these powers,
It stops
to a
recording.
generator.
This is a tape, reel to reel. So, guys, welcome to Who You Were. My name is Patrick Noth.
Hey, what's up? I'm Sebastian Canelli.
And very excited today. We have Zhubin Parang
thanks for having me, guys.
on the program. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me walk up all the flights of stairs to come here. It's real.
Isn't that
good
ridiculous?
exercise, Yeah. I was actually at the gym right before I came here. So as soon as I saw the stairs, I was like, oh, man, okay.
You know how they're
Here's
big
leg day.
stairs? You know, because halfway up one of the stairwells, there's a break.
Yeah.
There's just like a huge stair that you could just kind of fucking chill on.
It just gives you like a place to camp for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, the
it's
stairs get tired of the fucking stairs, so they go, we're just gonna have a fucking fake floor in the middle of our stairs because the amount of stairs here are ridiculous. And I do that every time. I've lost 600 pounds since this.
It's good. It's a good workout. It's a good workout.
Yeah, I'm sure after the gym, that's literally the worst place.
Yeah, that
you
was the
wanna
only
be.
thing. I should have just skipped the gym and just gone straight to here.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't let people use the elevator.
An elevator.
No, I'm just messing around. So yeah, you are head writer of the Daily Show.
I'm a producer now. I was
Producer of
promoted
the
to
Daily
producer
Nice.
last year. Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm not
I was
sure
late
what the-
for it. It was a year ago, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm late for it.
Yeah,
my bad. My
that's cool.
bad.
I didn't get any gift from you, but that's fine. That's fine.
I'm not good at gifts, so you wouldn't want one anyways.
Yeah, I guess that's true. No one wants. What were you going to give me?
You know, I don't know, but once I gave my mom, when I was 19, a piece of paper that said, good for one meal at Boulder Creek Steakhouse. Because I worked at Boulder Creek.
Oh, okay. I thought
And
you were
then-
maybe like 6 or something.
No,
like
I
in
was
no
19.
position to pay for this.
And then she just didn't. We never went. Also, once I got my dad a bunch of Twizzlers and an Amex gift card, and my dad goes, "You got me an American Express gift card." He goes, "I'm a grown ass man. I don't need a fucking Amex gift card." So then he gave it to me. So then I had an Amex gift card.
Oh, you
man,
knew that
what a
was going to
scam,
happen. You knew
yeah.
when you were buying that shit. You were like, "Oh, I'm going to get this back immediately."
Yes.
I love the idea that you would have made your mom go to the restaurant you work at and then just kind of insist that she tip you for it.
I wasn't a waiter. I was a fry cook.
Oh wow! Is that I used to work at McDonald's, where I was, and I say this because I was 15 years old when I was working there, and I was too young to work as anything but the cashier and the fry cook. Like all you could do was just literally make fries.
Wow.
I don't know if fry cook meant more with you.
No,
guys.
for me it meant more. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would do like salads, and I did bloomin' onions.
You made the bloomin' onions.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing, but I actually burnt my hands.
Yeah,
I spun it one
I've got
time.
those scars.
Yeah, and I burnt my hand, and all of a sudden, because I was too young to work technically as a chef, also because I think I was 17, and you had to be 18 to be a chef. So they gave me 1 day paid like disability. And it was like the best day of my life because I got a burn. Me and my boy went to the Staten Island Yankees game. We were getting hammered. I kept yelling, "I'm on disability." I was this 17-year-old scumbag running around. Literally made $80, but spent $150 that day running
Oh,
around.
man. You just made like 30 Trump voters that day. Just going around, I'm on disability.
I wasn't Staten
You're
Island.
paying me to do this. You
Wasted child.
I changed no one's mind. They all go, "That's the dream."
It feels insane to me that the you're too young, so you can only work the fryer. Like the fryer seems like the most dangerous thing in the back.
I would think so
of
too. I
McDonald's.
guess the grill is even more dangerous.
Really?
I don't know. I never was allowed back there to try it.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with you. Like all my friends who are also 15, we all have burn marks on our arms just from like the oil just naturally splashes every time you put it down.
Yeah, for sure.
But like what you were saying, when you're 15, just the money is all you need. You know,
Yeah.
just the respect you think you're being afforded by being able to put the fries into a vat of oil is like, I'm an adult now. I've really grown, you know?
When I was that age, I worked at the Milwaukee County Zoo, and my job was to wait for the little train to go by and just stand up and make sure nobody walked in front of the little train.
Jesus.
How fast was the train going?
Very slow.
How big was the train? Was there a chance of injury, or is it more to protect the train from being injured?
I think you could have. I mean, if you stood in front of the train and like waited for the train to hit you, it would probably mess you up.
Yeah.
But like, I don't even know how that would be possible. Like, I don't even know. But obviously, like, it was probably a job born on a necessity. Like, somebody probably was, not.
I'll
paying
tell you
attention
right
or
now,
something.
I would have like purposely like tried to fuck that train up if I was a kid.
A kid, yes.
Yeah.
Chasing it and stuff
Absolutely,
like that.
yeah. You'd have your fun. I remember another thing. I used to work at Chuck E. Cheese, and
Nice.
there was it wasn't great. It was a lot of like
Wait, you wouldn't play games after hours?
you could play games, yeah, but working there with all these kids is just a nightmare. Like when you would occasionally be in the Chuck E. Cheese outfit.
And you had to act like a robot.
You had to act. We were up on the stage doing the thing.
I knew those were
that's
people.
a real human being. in
I
there,
knew
yeah.
it all along. I told my mom. She goes, "No way." I'm a fucking egg on her face.
When you're walking around with those kids, The older ones, like the ones who are like, 11, 12, the ones who are old enough to kind of want to act above it, will just start like fighting you as Chuck E. Cheese.
Right.
They'll just start like throwing punches,
Pulling your tail.
and you
Yeah.
can't like punch back, obviously. You're
Sure.
Chuck E. Cheese, so you
Right.
just have to kind of stand there and just kind of like absorb blows.
Chuck E. Cheese is beating the shit out of
Yeah, like all the kids around either don't care or they're egging the kid on. Like there's no safety for you unless you
Right.
can like run to another manager or something and have him say something. But I mean, when you're a kid like that, all you want to do is kind of fuck things up.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Middle school kids are monsters.
Yeah, I just love that was a skill you developed, just watching a little train, like putting that on your resume for college.
I don't know how like clear I'm being because it was a train that people were on. Like
no, I was thinking like model train.
Oh no, it wasn't like Mr. Rogers models, but it was
That's what I was
it was a little thing, you know.
Oh, it's like at amusement parks when they have just a monorail that goes around.
Yeah.
no,
Slow.
that was unclear. When you say little train, you're gonna think of a model train
Yeah,
set, and I apologize for that.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Now it sounds necessary what you were doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Still useless for any other job, but necessary.
One time I was walking back like after a shift. And I saw a squirrel in a tree with a full ice cream cone, just
What?
fucking going nuts on it. It was the best. It was one of the best things I've ever seen in
Was
my
he
life.
holding it like a human holds
He was
it?
holding it with two hands in front of him, and he was in a tree somehow, and he was just destroying it.
That's adorable.
It was cute. It was
what a
strawberry.
great-
Do you think
Oh,
that?
that's so
Do you
sweet.
think the squirrel died? A whole
Oh,
fucking
boy,
ice
I
cream
didn't
cone.
think about that.
Yeah.
It's also like, can they digest like cow's milk and
Yeah.
cream
Yeah.
and sugar?
Yeah.
It must have fucking died.
Sebastian, I have this wonderful memory.
It's so whimsical. Oh, yeah. And it waved at me, and I said, "Good morning, squirrel." And the squirrel jumped on my shoulder and gave me a kiss.
Now
Oh, it's fucking
now
died,
the
dude.
memory has been tarnished by the fact that I'm picturing a dead squirrel next to like a melted
Just
cone.
its wife and kids all around. Daddy, wake up! Wake up!
So did you thought of a time in your life that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, well, I think I before I went into comedy, I was an attorney for a few years, and I went to law school and did all of that. Obviously, I went to law school before I was an attorney. I didn't just.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to law school in Georgetown in D.C.
Of course.
Are you guys familiar with D.C. at all?
Yeah.
It's not where the Georgetown University is, which is a very nice place, part of D.C. Georgetown Law School is right next to the Capitol building.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
until recently, I think the last 10 years or so, that Chinatown area has blown up. It's like where the Wizards play, and it's all gentrified out. But when I was going there, it was still a little seedy and dangerous, which isn't really here nor there. I don't have any cool story about that, except that we would... walking back and forth from law school, we would occasionally, run into guys who were trying to like sell us scams on stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hey, I need, can I have $1? I've got my car just broke down the block. I just need $10 for a fix-a-flat.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when my car's broken, I'm always $1 short from I'm always $1 short from fixing that fucking carburetor.
It's always like a thing. It's always like you feel like you need a lot more than just that.
Yeah.
And it's also but because we were walking the same path to school every day. The guys would just run the same scam on us every day. So this
Right.
guy, for like every day of like a year, would always have a fix-a-flat problem with his car.
He didn't change the story.
Didn't change the story at all. It's like, why bother? Like, we're not going to give him money anyway.
Well, he owned a nail store that he would have to drive to and from
Yeah.
every day. That was the problem. He didn't know how to balance the two. Is having a car and having a booming nail business. People walking out with fucking shopping bags full of nails. Right? So how dare you? This fucking man's holding this weight.
Had a nail startup.
I'm gonna see in the paper one day like that guy, like some guy finally gave me enough money for a fix-a-flat, and that's why I own like most of New York City's real estate market.
In my mind, he gets arrested like 5 years later, and his public defender is a dude that he tried to
Yeah.
Oh my God.
and he's just fucked at that point. It's like, oh yeah?
So Georgetown, that's where you went to school. And so then you became a lawyer.
Yeah, so I went and practiced law here in New York for a few years.
So you took the bar.
Yeah.
What is that like?
It's pretty cool. I mean, if you like taking tests, and I kind of like taking tests.
Yeah, Sebastian and I are right in that Venn diagram too.
Yeah.
Of
Taking tests.
Love
That's
tests.
my forte. It goes, give
I
me
can't
a
tell if you guys are
paper.
shitting me right now.
Give me a
You have to
paper with
understand,
words without the information.
I don't know about.
That's what I love more than anything. I love to read, but then I have to fucking fill in the rest of the answers.
Sebastian and I we're just fuck ups. Like we didn't necessarily do good on tests. At least let me not speak for you. I didn't barely graduated high school.
No, I do. I did fine. I did okay on
Sebastian
the
was a
SATs.
huge fuck up.
No, I was.
I think that's different from liking to take tests, because I do think it's like, in the same way like video games are basically just big like problem solving games.
Right.
If you're the kind of person who just likes being presented with like a challenge. And, I don't like the fact that challenge is timed and my career depends on it. That
Right.
sucks.
Yes.
But even like law school or LSAT, LSAT questions have like a very fun logic component to them. Like they're just, you're going to the movie theater with your friends A, B, C, D, and G. A will only sit next to B if C is sitting next to D. E wants to sit on the end, and G can't sit next to B unless C and F are sitting 2 seats apart.
Yeah.
If A sits in the third seat, where does everyone sit? And that's just kind of fun, just sit down and be like, all right, yeah, let's just game it out.
See, I actually
I
like
like
shit
that.
like this.
Yeah, I would like that. Yeah.
I like that.
They're just fun. Like if I actually, and this is very embarrassing to say, I have a book of these logic puzzles just to like kind of do, and when I'm on the subway or spare time.
Yeah.
But when you take away all like the timing element of it, it's like fun.
Yeah.
I actually like this stuff. I actually
Yeah, me
spoke
too.
too quickly.
Me too.
I went to engineering school. I did math and
What
science.
the fuck are you talking about? That's all. Yeah, that's all problem solving.
That's why I
Yeah.
went, because I liked problem solving.
Yeah.
I literally enjoy puzzles.
By the
I
time-
have mad puzzle games on my phone.
By the
That's
time I went to
all-
undergrad too,
Yeah.
I enjoyed exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's really, I think, like the worst thing about school is it takes all these like fun things you can do and ideas and turns them into very high stakes, pressurized like moments. So any joy you might have in the learning process is like just suppressed by this sense that like, well, if you don't get this part right, I don't know if you're going to get into high school, buddy, and then you're not going to get into college.
Right.
Ugh,
Yeah,
the
it's
pressure.
terrifying. And a lot of those are also basically like what we do in improv. Like it's like, if this is true, what else is true? Like essentially a lot of the.
I love UCB because the theory of game I think just clicks with me really, really nicely. Like it's the idea of
logic.
think logically, about it. Yeah.
Or make it make sense, kind of. I love that about it too.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would be funny without that.
I was in the Washington Improv Theater in DC before I came up to New York.
Oh, really?
Great theater. Great
Did you know
school.
Natasha?
I did. Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah.
Did you know Karen?
I knew Karen.
Tim
Zach
Martin?
Phillips. Tim Martin. I don't know if I was if we overlapped in DC.
That's such a good crew.
It was a
that's
huge,
down
like
there.
Josh Patton, Rory Scovel, a huge,
Jesus.
massive farm team for New York. That like early 2000s.
Yeah.
But a lot of, but I don't think I was anywhere near a good improv performer as I am now, because when I saw UCB's theory of comedy, it was like, oh, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
That made a lot more sense to me than anything
What did
else.
they teach?
Wit doesn't, like, their curriculum is a lot more well, I don't know now, because when I was taking it, the curriculum hadn't quite been like set down yet.
Yeah, it was-
so I'm not sure I don't want to speak to what their curriculum was,
Sure,
but it wasn't, it's not UCB's like game theory. No curriculum.
It was probably more like teacher by teacher basis.
probably,
like what
yeah.
they want to choose.
A lot more like listening, the kind of like more theatrical idea of listen, like agree and add.
Yeah.
There wasn't the sense of like
improv
game.
stuff. So I always say like other theaters teach improv, and UCB teaches game based improv. So that's like riding a bike versus doing BMX.
That makes sense to
In
me,
my
yeah.
mind, like you need to learn how to ride a bike first.
Yeah, honestly though, I don't mean to like, not to like fanboy about UCB, but I think it's the only improv theater that has an actual, theory of comedy. Like the other ones all seem to be like kind of in reaction to UCB.
Yeah.
But it's much more difficult with the other ones to like sit down after a scene and say what went wrong and how do you fix it the
Right.
way you can
Yeah.
with UCB.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like they are the first musicians who wrote out notes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just try to figure out what the fuck was happening
Yeah.
with harmonies and stuff like
Just
that.
like that theory is so important.
Yeah.
To bring to any discipline.
I also think like learning it and then learning how to break it. It's like, but yeah, you do. I almost do wish that they would teach more improv before they teach game though. Cause game
Yeah.
is, if you're not used to just I don't know how we're talking about improv, but if you're not used
cares?
to
I literally don't care if we talk about that beautiful. If we don't, I don't give a fuck, dude. It's Saturday afternoon. I got my fat ass coffee. Leave me alone.
you just got to learn how to do that.
Who cares? Do you care?
No, I don't give a shit.
Audience, I don't care if you care.
No, this is not a podcast to make money or be interesting to anybody at all. No.
No.
It's literally so I have to take a shower today. And I did. Look, I put a comb. I bought a comb. I didn't have a comb for fucking 3 months. I bought a comb. I'm living my life.
He bought a comb.
If we don't even put this podcast out, its mission has still been accomplished.
Yes.
No, the objective is done.
Yeah, we're around other human beings, which is good. Were you in law school when you were doing wit stuff, or was that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I did. Just because I always wanted to do comedy. That was always kind of going to be my second, my hobby, my other thing. And then as I practiced law, it became more and more. As I realized how much I didn't want to practice law, improv and comedy were the only thing that was left that I really had a passion for doing. Yeah. So that became. We just went from being my hobby to becoming a possible career to becoming my actual career.
Where are you from originally?
So I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And like out in the suburb of Knoxville. So Southern boy.
Yeah.
My mom and dad were from Iran. So I'm Iranian American. I only bring this up because this is completely unrelated to what we're talking about, but I also want to talk about it.
Well, I asked you to.
It's so, yeah, but what I'm about to say is completely unrelated.
Gotcha.
I just went to South Africa like a month and a half ago. Trevor was hosting this Global Citizens Festival.
Yeah.
And so a few of us went down there to like help write jokes and to do an episode of The Daily Show while we were down there. And just being in South Africa, and I feel this way every time I'm in South Africa or when I go visit Iran or when I'm in Europe, but the culture there is so complex. Everybody there speaks like 4 languages.
Yeah.
Trevor and one of the other writers, David Kabuka, just very like casually ease into and out of different languages with people.
Wow.
People who grow up in neighborhoods stay in those neighborhoods because they know everybody there. There's like a rich cuisine.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing that like coming back here, it makes you sort of press sometimes to be an American because just, growing up, especially like in suburban America, like we do not have culture in the United States, you know?
Strip malls and like, yeah.
It's all just Applebee's and working as like, office managers for various, pharmaceutical companies, lobbies. Like it's really, it's the kind of thing that like I get so mad when people, when Americans talk about how, we're such an exceptional country and how we're so, how we're, divinely inspired. It's like, what the fuck is it about us that is worth keeping? Like the Chili's that like Apple, like going to like a strip mall is this is like the height
but they
of
got
culture.
$9 all you can eat apps. You can eat 100 fucking mozzarella sticks. You can spend 14 hours there, eat 100 mozzarella sticks, drink 20 Diet Cokes.
They slather cheese on 6 different kinds of meat. Who the fuck am I to say this is not the height of culture?
How is that not culture?
How is that not the
culture in my world, bro?
It's also, I think we lose a sense of community. Like what you're
that's what
describing,
it is.
sounds like a community of a bunch of people who know each other and like, we say like, oh, we're in a comedy community, but like since we started this podcast, we're like, oh, I don't know anything about most people that I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like we don't know each other that well. Like we're finding out information that about everybody that we had no idea.
Yeah, where'd you guys grow up? In the suburbs or?
Yeah, I grew up in Staten Island. It's like suburbs. Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
but I was close to the city, so I did get culture. I was
like cities have culture.
Yeah, so I went to I would go to Broadway. 'Cause Broadway plays were cheaper then, so we would go to Broadway plays
that's very
1 to 2 times a year. My aunt worked in the Smithsonian as like a art director for something, so I would go to music once a week, once a year for a week. We would go to 6-7 museums, so I got a ton of culture as a kid.
Yeah,
my dad was they're both teachers, so they were fucking so much education was put on me, and then I fucking smoked all that out of my body.
They did their best, though. That's the important thing is they tried.
That's literally probably why I do comedy is because there's some smartness underneath that he tried to ruin. So it's like, hey, where do you put that?
Beneath like a thick haze of pot residue.
Yeah, so I got a lot of so like even though I did go to fucking the movie, but even we went to the movies, we didn't see comedy movies. We saw my parents forced me to see like all the fucking Academy Award movies as a kid.
That's awesome.
That's great. Like
Yeah.
that, but that's kind of stuff like it's not easy in America to. Although if you live near like a major city, it's
Yes.
easier.
Yeah.
But for a lot of like the vast swath of the country, it's very difficult to get any culture at all. You just end up being in your McMansion,
Yeah.
watching TV,
Sure.
not going out to like whatever fast food chain is there. It's really hard. America does not have a culture outside of just consumer capitalist culture. And
Yeah.
really, like when you go to another country. And I think I say this because I'm very glad that I was raised by two Iranian parents who I have however limited it is, like access to like Iranian culture.
Yeah.
But wow, you feel when I was in South Africa, I was like, I feel so embarrassed to be here. Like I speak one language.
Where'd you go?
We spent most of our time in Joburg. In fact,
Yeah.
the entire time in Joburg.
It was beautiful, huh?
Actually, Joburg reminds me a lot of like L.A.
Interesting.
It's nice, but it's also very spread out. You drive around a lot. The climate is very similar.
Cool. What about, did you go to Cape Town?
No, we were there for like legit like 30 hours.
Oh.
It was like a weekend.
Wow.
And it takes like 16 hours to fly down
Sure.
there. So it was actually a terrible trip. Like it was all just work.
Sounds
Yeah.
hard.
I couldn't get anything done.
Yeah.
I was like jet lagged like all the hell most of the time. But
Sure.
it's nice to have that kind of access to a different country. You know?
Of course.
Just enough time to see how bad America is.
Yeah. Such a fucking liberal thing, dude. As soon as I go to the country, they're like, good, I can come here and just shit on my home country a lot more.
This is a perfect example of like, you see what these fucking assholes, they hate us.
Duh, yeah.
What type?
America's fine, but yeah, we don't have community. Everyone's mean to each other. Everyone's mean to each other. Nobody knows each other, and everyone's mean to each other.
Yeah.
That's not true. Not everyone's not mean to each other.
Right now, it feels like everyone's mean to each other. Right? If you watch any television.
It definitely, and I may just because I'm very online, but it definitely feels that the dominant form of expression right now is some sort of outrage.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
you approach everything outrage first.
But I don't engage in that shit.
Right.
That's
great.
maturity on your part, but I think it's very difficult to do that.
I have no interest. Why would I want to fight with someone when I could sit with my boys and talk and hang out with friends and go fucking see a movie?
Well, you're not on Twitter.
I'm not on Twitter.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Why should I be on Twitter?
It's
Who's
true.
selling Twitter to me? Everyone goes, it sucks. I need to delete it from
That's
my
true.
phone. I can't do this. I spend hours. They go, I have an app that tells me how long I do and then they go, I've been fighting with someone on Twitter. No one has ever told me a good thing about Twitter.
No, it's every
nightmare.
social media is awful.
It's terrible.
I'm only on Twitter because like I professionally
to.
have to be, but
Yeah.
I just like there's nothing on social media that I'm ever happy I saw.
No.
It's either something that gets me mad or something that makes me feel that I should be doing more with my life
Yeah,
or
sure.
something that some news article I could have just looked up on the website anyway, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I mean is when people aren't living, in some kind of community where it's like, you can live in Manhattan, you don't know any of your neighbors, And when
Yeah.
that, like
See,
Emily
but
and
that's
I,
not the way I grew up. That's why I'm pushing back.
Right.
Because I grew up literally living next door to my cousin. And it's like, and I would go see my family and I lived on a cul-de-sac and like
Right.
Italian culture is big.
Right, but
That's why people hold on to it.
That's great. Yeah, that's very.
I know it's unique. That's why I have to.
No, Iranian culture is very similar, very family oriented. They spend a lot of time
Meals,
with
it's
it.
around,
Yeah,
yes.
very much so. That's the thing.
my
I think-
roommate's Iranian, so. he
Oh
talks-
yeah, then you know. You,
Yeah, he loves that. Yeah.
It's the kind of it's that orient. But I think you're right that Patrick, that the America's orientation isn't towards that. It's more towards isolation and suburban anomie,
individualism.
Yeah.
I grew up in Milwaukee, and on my block we did have like there were tons of kids on the block, and we could do it like we could go out and run around and do shit like that. But that doesn't happen as much anymore. You know what I mean? It's like people are not letting their kids, I think, do that as much.
That's interesting.
And they're scheduled and stuff. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I mean, I also think that there's, and this is my own this gets to my own problems with modern media, but there's enormous financial incentive for a lot of new media to
Be negative.
just to be outraged, just to try and get views.
Yeah.
So everybody approaches any piece of content or art or news event as how can I frame this in a way that gets the max amount of engagement, which
Yeah.
always means outrage.
Yeah.
So you always have just, it's the same way that, I mean, it affects comedy too, because you can't poor Saturday Night Live cannot put up a single sketch without
Right.
30 different analyses of where it went wrong and why it wasn't woke enough or too woke.
And it's literally a sketch.
It's a sketch.
You have to remember what they're putting out. It's literally someone being fucking stupid and other people being like, "You're being dumb."
Yeah, it's
That's a good synopsis of what sketch is.
honestly,
Someone's being stupid, and other people are like, "You're being dumb."
that's all of comedy.
It is.
That's
Right?
all comedy is.
Yeah, it is.
I hate when people take. I don't know. People make things too complicated in comedy for me sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's also difficult, or I think it's also really easy to comment on cultural stuff like comedy or movies instead of something like climate change or our healthcare system that actually requires like some sort of education. You got to learn a little bit. It's very easy to be like, I didn't like that movie,
right?
So everyone feels like they can jump into it, but it's like, this conversation could not be less productive.
Or something that involves any self-sacrifice at all. You know what I mean? Like a problem with something like that.
So what type of law were you doing?
I was doing corporate litigation, just the worst kind of soul-sucking, defending one insurance company from another insurance company's accusation that they improperly filed their reinsurance claims with this. Very, very dry. That's the thing. The big difference between law school and practicing law is what I was just saying. Like law school is the 3 years of fun where you talk about ideas and how they fit with other ideas and how they fit in the broader context of the statutory framework or the Constitution. It's all puzzle solving.
Yeah.
And it's all very deep thinking and fun analysis for 3 years. Then when you actually go into practicing law, it's very much, did you properly format this document?
Right.
Did you spend the proper 12 hours reading these spreadsheets to find the one particular number that might bring our client $2.5 million more in atomized settlements over the course? Shit like that, where it's like, this is not at all what I wanted to do.
And you have to do that for a while at a firm before you can tell people to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. You have to be at least 3 or 4 years before you're no longer junior associate and are a mid-level associate. You still have to do it, but then you're also responsible for the junior associates doing it. So you got to do it more. And then you become maybe a senior associate where you can do it a little bit less. And then you're probably going to be fired at that point because there's not enough money anymore to hire you unless you can bring in your own clients, which no one in law tells you until it's too late that you also needed to bring in clients at the same time.
Wow.
And then if you do have those clients, you become a junior partner, and then eventually a senior partner who, if you were very lucky and you happen to be roommates with the son of Ford, then you can leverage those friendships to make money, and then you can just go to lunch all day. And by that point, you're 70 years old and you've been divorced 3 times.
And you're drunk.
And you're drunk all the time.
Drunk at noon.
It's a ridiculous, that's the thing that a lot of people don't think about or don't tell you about law is that, like any profession, you have to bring in your own clients and you have to, it's a lot more of a business than it is any kind of actual standing in front of the Supreme Court with like the perfect argument to expand the protections of a marginalized class of citizens.
And that's what you wanted to do.
That I always, when I was growing up, I was always very political. I really wanted to go into politics, and initially when I was a kid, I was like, I'll be a senator, maybe president one day.
Can I ask why?
Yeah, because I'm my family. I grew up as very political. I grew up very idealistic, very left wing.
Yes.
I did all the read Marx and all had all like the left wing ideas. Went to college that way. And I think that you have this idea of politics when you're very young, especially that you can change the world. You can make a difference just getting out there into the world. Yeah. And you see a lot of Capitol Hill staffers are those kinds of people. Like they're very excited about politics. They want to do, they have this kind of like Aaron Sorkin West Wing idea. Then so you learn the only way you can actually become an elected official is if you know somebody with money or you have money or you can whore yourself out for money.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, those people end up either being in, staffers where they help congressmen, or they end up on campaigns, where they just slowly become disillusioned, or they become lawyers. And if you're a lawyer, you very quickly get shunted into corporate law. Yeah. Unless you happen to be the 0.01% of people who are so bright that you automatically get into, whatever ACLU program or I'm trying to think of all these
Southern Poverty
Law Centers.
Yeah,
sure. But even then, there's no money in it. You eventually have to go into private law just to make money.
Yeah.
And you see this back and forth. Even like the top constitutional lawyers of our time, who like David Boies and Ted Olson, guys who like argue from the Supreme Court all the time, are all partners at giant law firms who usually make their money lobbying for chemical industries or oil. Yeah, there's no. If you want to play in America in the political game, you have to have money or you have to represent money in some way.
It's so wild to see like AOC like walking around, Congress and shit like that, and like just being a normal person. Like,
man.
Like it's like all she's doing is like, why are we meeting with all these lobbyists? You know what I mean? Like that's not what we're supposed to be doing.
It's so good that someone shines a light on that stuff. Yeah,
and it's wild because you're like, oh, everybody else is a monster. Like, she's just being honest and like showing you what the fuck these people are doing, and it's like, oh, they're just like working with, they're taking the laws and they're taking shit that lobbyists wrote and implementing them. Basically.
It is legit. The system selects for the people who are the most soulless or the most beaten down or the most eager to represent moneyed interests to come into the system at all. So when you get someone like AOC or these younger ones who I guess because of this wave got elected, they're just going to be like, what the fuck is happening? Like, the lobbyists are in like every single pore of the government.
This is crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah.
What made you come to New York? Because did you already say like, you know what, I'm not going to get into politics at that point? Like when you graduated?
I still had this idea that maybe I'll practice in a corporate law firm for a while, and then maybe I'll end up quitting and moving into a campaign or moving into somebody's. But really, actually, what it ultimately was I was on a DC improv team called Dr. Fantastic with Rory Scovel, who is now a phenomenal stand-up, and some other people from DC. We went up and did the Del Close Marathon in 2005 or 6, I want to say. Chris Gethard wrote a review of us on the IRC, which is like, I don't even know who knows about this
That's
anymore.
old school.
Old school message board before Facebook and Tumblr like destroyed that. But there was a thread for, what did you like about this last Del Close? And Chris Gethard wrote a great review of us.
That's awesome.
And that review almost single-handedly told me like, I bet I could do improv in the New York level. So part of me like moved up to New York, a significant chunk, because I wanted to try to do improv there and just see if I could do it at the top.
Have you told him that?
I did. I don't know if I told him personally. I put it up on Instagram like a couple of years. It was one of those like last DCMs or the 20th anniversary of it, and that I put like on Instagram that review.
You could say last DCM.
It was the last one, man.
Let's be honest.
So much, man. It really that bummed me out so much.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I understand like it's especially these days. I understand like money is money, but
New York is crazy.
It just felt like such a what an end of an era feeling to it.
I like also us. You're like the IRC, which was destroyed by Facebook. Is like that Facebook, like attributing Facebook to destroying the IRC is just funny to me. It destroyed so much. It destroyed the government. It's like it really fucked up the IRC pretty bad.
It destroyed print media and the IRC. Equivalently,
fucking IRC.
I remember I used to go on the IRC to see if someone said anything about me. You know?
Yeah. I would search for my name like all the time. Yeah,
it's wild.
No, that's the thing that like. I'm so out of the scene these days. Especially like the younger, Harold and Lloyd night scenes. But I remember that time as just being everybody I talked to. I just lived and breathed.
Yeah,
UCB Improv and the indie scene there. That was it sucks. That IRC really felt like in a way that Facebook pages don't.
No,
that felt like a real communal hangout.
You know why? Because someone fucking runs the Facebook page and then will be like, no one is allowed to talk about this, this, and this, and they'll delete posts if you talk about certain things.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I didn't even know there was a UCB Facebook page that.
Well, there's like an improv resource page or something like that, and it's like
also the IRC. The majority of what you saw on there was like, oh man, this guy is great.
Compliments.
Yeah.
It was all
like improv crushes thread. That was
yes,
good. Yeah.
No one was writing like I saw this show and this person said this. right? And
Yeah.
then this happened, and now on Facebook that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the only time I see anything pop up on Facebook now is when it's like a 500 comment thread because somebody has been called out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it just feels like the community is like only comes together to like rend itself apart.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
To destroy someone.
Yeah.
I think
We'll
the
each
left
have
in
our
general,
day.
the left in general has a problem with that.
I can't
I
believe
think
they
it's,
haven't
like-
caught me yet, because I'm so horrible on stage.
Oh yeah. I mean,
You're
I'll-
likable too.
No, but I'm fat, so they go, he's flawed. He's got his own issues. Leave
so
him
brave.
alone.
He's so brave. I mean, I'll do it if you want. I'll write something tomorrow and
Yeah, I need a little heat.
finish you off.
Yeah, come on, destroy me, bro.
I need some buzz. You know?
Yeah, can you give me a little fucking jazz and some bad buzz about me? Yeah, say I did something. Yeah, he played a woman, just grabbed his boobs the whole time, and he goes, I got fat tits. Yeah, I shouldn't be around.
Yeah, it's I get very scared. I did a move the other day where I was like King Kong, and I was like, I'm grabbing that woman and taking her to the top of the whatever. I was just like saying what King Kong does, and everyone, I could tell the audience was like not okay with
Yeah.
it. And I was like, okay, that's not okay.
It's like a landmine now. It's a field of landmines now, and like it's the kind of thing that makes you you wonder as you're. I mean, I completely recognize that. Like, it's important to like
Yes,
of
to
course.
get rid of
Yeah.
to get rid of stuff that people have been saying that is no longer good, that never was good, but
Right.
people weren't able to say it. But there's also this element of, I think in the same way that like the left does this and the right does it, like purity testing.
Yeah. It's a
where,
religion.
Like,
It's
you're
fun-
racing
yeah.
to see
Yeah.
how much better you are than someone else.
Yeah, which is religion. It's like it feels
It's
like religion.
very much so. Yeah, the
Yeah.
kind of self-policing of a community.
Yeah.
yeah.
But again, it is good. And then in the long term, it is good because we're just figuring out what the balance is. And, you know, yeah.
But I think that when you had like, for example, not saying the IRC again, but when you had that balance with, I love this person because this show is great, that feels less dominant in the conversation than the only time anybody's
Yeah.
talking together as a community is when
Yeah.
there's like a problem to discuss. You know, that's the
Totally.
thing that sucks about the loss of like any kind of like digital space.
Yeah. And it's because it's also like from a specific person's point of view as opposed to the IRC was kind of felt like it was like, this is for all of us. Like it wasn't like you had your picture up. Like it was completely representative of you, you know? Like
Yeah.
it felt more like we're just talking.
Yeah, it
You
really,
know?
yeah, it was nice. It was cool, and now it's dead and gone.
It must have felt so good when Gather wrote that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't really know who he was at the time, except that I knew that he was like a major.
Sure.
Even then, this is like 2005. You're still like a major force in the comedy scene.
Yeah, yeah.
So to get all I knew was this major player saying like these guys were. I'm going to see their show every time they come up.
Nice.
That was
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think he knows. I probably should. I mean, I'm not actually like friends with him. I don't.
No.
I see what he does and I watch everything he puts out. It's all hilarious. But I'm not like I don't know
yeah.
personally. But I assume he listens to this podcast, right?
He was on it.
Yeah.
No
He was on it, but I don't know. But I
No,
doubt he
he
listens.
does
be-
not listen to podcasts.
I think he listens to it. I think he calls me every day and just sort of recaps
up.
the podcast. No, he probably doesn't listen. I don't want to say on the podcast that people don't. Sebastian, he doesn't fucking listen.
No, he
to
doesn't
it.
listen.
Nobody
Listen to
fucking
shit.
listens.
You know who
to
I
it.
know who does listen though? Is some woman that someone, I don't know, woman or man, but works with my mother, and they listen,
Oh boy.
and then they're telling my mother what I say on the podcast.
Oh my god. Really?
Yeah,
The worst.
Oh,
the
man.
worst of it.
the worst of it. They
Oh,
tell me.
that's-
I listen to this podcast. You've been saying some pretty awful shit.
Literally, I was on the phone with my mother before I come here, and my mom goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "Oh, I gotta go do a podcast." She goes, "Oh, a person I work with listens." They go, "I heard what you said about me, that I like cosmopolitans." I was like, well, "How is that even bad?" She drinks a cosmopolitan at a fucking bar mitzvah every fucking 2 years. So what is happening?
That's such a weird thing to pull out. And be like, oh.
It is weird because I don't even remember that, but I remember you talking about like
I don't
eating
either.
eating ass.
Yeah, I've talked about eating ass, snorting pills. Yeah, go tell my mommy that.
It'd be such a weird thing for this podcast to be canceled over. The thing that you have to, like if this is what destroys this podcast is that story that comes out. It's like,
We got a leak.
Yeah.
There's a leak at this fucking podcast.
leak
The
to
two
parents.
of us is a mole.
Yeah, there's someone's a mole. we do a fucking fuck. I can't even pull the word. Never mind. Yo, dude, I'm so stupid sometimes.
Oh my
God. What's the word for lie detector? What's the word for that?
The lie detector. Right?
Shit, I knew it.
Polygraph.
Polygraph. Yeah, that's what I was like pulling.
I don't even know.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So you were already like New York was your destination because you were like, I want to do fucking improv too, in addition to this.
Yeah.
And how long did you practice before you were like gonna make a go of comedy? Did you wait till you got a job, or did you?
No, I jumped right in. Like I started. I moved to New York in September of 2006, and I had my first 101 in like October of 2006. Like I came right. Improv was the thing I had liked the most.
Yeah.
And so I took all the classes and got on the teams as I was being a lawyer, which is, I would be at the law firm from like 10 to 8. I go do a show at like 9 or a class or something. Then I come back to the firm around like 11 p.m.
Wow.
Work until like 2 a.m. Then go back home and then back to the office again at 10.
Jesus.
It was a really hectic schedule. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Were
at all.
you married at that time?
No, I wasn't. I was.
Okay. That would be impossible.
Yeah, I have no idea how I would have. I wasn't in any relationships at all. Like it was just no time.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. Like being, working as a lawyer, like it's very difficult to maintain any kind of healthy relationship. Divorce and strained relationships are like all throughout the legal profession.
The
especially in
expectation
New
is
York.
you're going to live there, basically.
Yeah, it's like being like a banker. Like it's just the job is your life. We'll pay you an obscene amount of money, and in return, you will give us your life, and then and that'll be that.
Right. It's like it's unlike any comedy besides SNL.
Yeah, it really is. Like SNL has like kind of similar kind of.
Yeah.
Although at least then you only have like 25 shows a year.
Yeah, you get
at
a
least
big
like,
break.
big break.
You get a big break.
The law firm, it's like maybe you get Christmas off, maybe you have to work New Year's on there. It's not
Really?
There's not a lot of. I mean, just you have to bill a certain amount of hours to be
relevant
for the firm to like make money off you.
Yeah.
So and all this the whole time you also have to like find your own clients to bring in. It's. If you love doing it, if you're the kind of type A personality that likes being a lawyer, wow, you are set for life. Like if you have any problems with it or don't like it, you will flail out or be miserable the rest of your life. Like it is a very difficult grind. A lot of people spin out, and and the system is built for that. Like it's built for a lot of people come in, they're just used up and chewed out, and by the time you get to the top, it's just like the hardcore. Devoted people who get to be the millionaires,
And that's why they act like that, because they made it through the grind.
yeah, they're every bit of their personality has been like honed down to a very specific type of
hard ass,
high attention to detail,
Wow.
focused on the best arguments. It's a very lawyers are very intelligent people, very very
that's what I heard.
skilled at being able to
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I am literally such an asshole.
No, it was a stupid thing for me to say too.
No.
The end of my lawyers are intelligent people is obvious. It's very obvious.
But I am legit just an asshole, and I have no self-control, and I just blurt out whatever I shouldn't say. I know. I'm so sorry.
No. It really exposed what a platitude I had just ended up saying. Like how what I was saying contained no insight whatsoever.
Doctors, they're pretty smart, these folks. I don't know. This astronaut I met, you believe it or not, he's pretty good at math.
Also, the guy's really good at not being dizzy.
Yeah. But
And as an astronaut, I can't tell you how important it is to be able to go up into space. So that's why you see a lot of astronauts are in space.
So tell me, so lawyers are good at arguments?
There's one thing I like to take 10 minutes to explain to you why lawyers are smart people.
So this is what I did to my buddy while he was reading The Great Gatsby. And don't worry, I'll tire myself out at 20 minutes in, and then I'll let you teach me a lot.
No, it's all very obvious shit. Like they're all miserable professions. But that's that's the kind of thing that, like, when you go, law school doesn't prepare you for that at all.
Well, also, I think culturally, the expectation is. I mean, I feel guilty for being a comedian. You know, the expectation is you're going to be a responsible.
Why do you feel guilty?
Because the expectation culturally is like you're going to be responsible. You're going to have a 401k. You're going to blah blah blah, and it's like that's not guaranteed here. It's like you don't know what the next thing will be, and you know,
it's a real this is actually a real problem. Like, I feel like our profession is very infantilizing in a way.
What does that word mean? I'm sorry.
I see. Okay, now I'm back up in the. Now I feel smart again for.
Yeah, I know what it means. I'm just fucking tossing you a bone, bro. Come on, I'm trying to make you look good, dude.
Thank you. Really.
It means glorified, right? No, it doesn't.
No.
Ah, God! Fuck my life in 2 pieces.
Can I guess?
Yeah,
Go
ahead. Guess. This is awesome. You say words, we guess what they are.
It's like regression.
It like encourages, it encourages you to, or at least it encourages people from. It discourages acting like an adult.
Maturity.
Maturity. Yeah. It very because.
Oh, really?
You don't have any of the.
You mean comedy isn't telling me to fucking be more of a man and get my shit together?
As difficult as it might be, for us,
I don't always feel guilty about it, but you know, there's that pressure. You do feel a pressure, you know.
But you also like the fact that there's none of the hallmarks of stability are there. There's no steady job. There's no income coming in regularly.
Yeah,
and you always it works to increase feelings of like dependency on your parents, still dependency on other people.
Yeah.
It feels very difficult to feel like you are an independent adult. Which I in the improv comedy community, I think is like a big problem. Like you have a lot of people in their 30s and 40s acting still like teenagers a lot of times.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like at that point, and this is maybe horrible to say, but like at that point, it's like if you're not making a living or you're living off someone else at that point,
sure.
Like I mean, it might not be the way for you to go.
I don't know. To me, it's like, well, does it make you happy? Like if your value system is satisfied by it, and you know, if you are satisfied by
that's true
by the work you do, I hate to say you should quit just because the money isn't there, but at the same time, if you are unable to live independently, I think that's a problem. I think for I don't know, it might just be for your own growth as a person,
right?
Sure, but I don't know. I don't mean to like.
No. I mean, I said it, but I do think like I agree with that. It's like when you have to make sure that you have stuff on your own, it's an important thing.
Yeah,
it's something I'm definitely figuring out now. That like how to be like try to grow up a little bit while still doing this shit.
But it's also like I don't know. Like you're how old are you?
29.
But it feels to me like you also can just say like, no, I'm an adult. Like you are an adult.
Yes, I live on my own. I pay my bills.
You pay your bill. Like there's no.
Well, I live with roommates, but
they're all the same. Like you are independent. Like that's the thing. Where it almost seems to me like I don't want to say like this like state of mind bullshit, but you also can just like say that I'm an adult. You are an adult.
Yes.
You do adult things.
I have health insurance. I fucking
yeah.
You
can buy your fucking dad Twizzlers and an Amex card. Just like adults.
Yeah, like a grown ass man. I get my daddy Twizzlers like a fucking.
I have a question. Did you take the bar in New York State only, or was there some kind of like?
You only take it in one state. You only take it in the state you're going to practice in, unless you intend to practice in 2 states. But that's
right.
The state bars all have one day. It's a test that tests knowledge that's applicable across the states. It's like the multi-state part of it.
Yeah.
And the second day is questions about the law unique to that state.
Yeah.
So what I did, I went out to Albany. You can do it in Albany and New York City. I went to Albany and I took a 2-day test. One day where it's all just multiple choice. And then the second day where it's New York specific and it's essays based mostly.
Wow. Cool.
That is less fun there because it's not logic as much as it is just like, what is the law here? What is the law here? What is the law here?
Yeah.
There was one really fun question I remember. I shouldn't say fun. It was more disturbing, but it was the question was it was a case where a father teaches his son how to play Russian roulette and tells him that the odds are actually less than 1 in 6 that you will have the bullet come up into the chamber because the weight of the bullet spins the chamber away from the spins the
bullet.
The weight of the, it's not the bullet, but the, wow, this sounds terrible that I can't remember what exactly it is that spins in the revolver.
Yeah.
The cartridge, I guess.
Yeah.
No, the cartridge is the bullet. Whatever it is, the spinning part.
Yeah.
It's actually okay that you don't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I feel
good.
bad, though, that I should know
That's
it. I need to know it. But the way the bullet spins the spinning thing away from the barrel. So the odds are less than 1 in 6.
Right.
And the father then demonstrates by putting the gun to his head and pulling the trigger, nothing happens. Later, his son teaches his son's friend. The two of them are, and the son tells him what his dad told him. The two of them simultaneously spin the chamber, and 2 different guns spin the chambers, put both guns up to their head, and both pull a live bullet and shoot themselves in the head. And the question is, what is the dad responsible for? Is he responsible for manslaughter on his kid, on the kid's friend, on both, on neither? That kind of thing.
Wow.
I walked away being like, I did not know that the odds are less than 1 in 6 when you spin a bullet in Russian roulette. That was like very weird information to walk away from. I'm like, wow.
So if you're listening, it's still, the odds aren't good.
Yeah, less than 1 in 6
Less
is
than 1 in
not
6.
good odds that you're gonna die for literally no reward.
No
Absolutely.
reason.
Don't do it because
No reason
I've
at
also
all.
forgotten whether I would be legally liable if you shoot yourself.
You don't remember the
I
answer?
don't remember the answer to it, so please don't.
So you
do
could
it.
get in big trouble for
Yeah.
that.
But that bar exam is a lot. It's a lot more just what is the law, and that's a 2-day test. It's most people pass it. I think it's not the most difficult ones are California, New York. But you still, by the time you're through all that, you pass it.
I was talking to a public defender in the Bronx. He was like a friend,
God bless
friend of
them.
my,
Yeah, they are doing the Lord's work.
friend of my brother-in-law's, and he told me a story about a case where a guy somebody had snitched on him or testified against him or something like that, and who was also in prison, who was going to church service regular. So the guy kind of like told the priest that he was interested in, learning more about the faith, and got to the service, killed the guy.
Oh my God.
Went on trial. The priest testified, but the jury in the Bronx let him off
Wow.
because they were like, well, he snitched.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Isn't that
Yikes.
fucking insane?
Yeah. Oh man. That's the kind of stuff where, I mean, that kind of like community thing, like the same thing where like the, like in the 60s and the 50s and 40s when like all white juries would just let go of anybody who killed any black person or anybody, that kind of stuff where it's just like the jury system
Insane.
is such a,
Yeah.
it's the best, solution to this problem, but it's still like you're just putting your life in the hands of a bunch of people whose prejudices just might doom you or save your killer.
Yeah.
That shit's wild.
It's really wild.
It's amazing, like when going through law, how you realize like almost everything, like the law is really just a jury rigged system of rules and statutes and regulations.
Yeah.
Stuff that doesn't really make sense and isn't really the best way to do something. But it's just there's an actual, I don't mean to bore you guys with this stuff.
No, I love it.
But this is a very coming up in the 60s, there was there's this big, the problem that black people would have of being like rejected at various white-owned businesses. Was a big
to just enter, or
white people,
Yes,
white places you can't come in, you can't do
Separate
this.
but equal.
And a big way of how they got around that, or these civil rights things, was by greatly expanding the Commerce Clause, which is this, it's a rule in the Constitution.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, it's the Constitution has a rule that says like the Congress is able to regulate interstate commerce.
Yeah.
Commerce within the states, the federal government cannot regulate.
Uh-huh.
And for a while, that meant that. Back when this was an agrarian country, that just meant like, if I sell weed or if I sell cows to my neighbor across the street, Congress can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
But if I go across state lines to sell the weed, then Congress can regulate that. In the 30s, as the economy was going more nationalized, the court dramatically expanded the meaning of what interstate commerce is, which basically said that because I can sell wheat across state lines and that affects the price of wheat, now even if I were to sell wheat to you, my next door neighbor, Congress can regulate that because that affects the national price of wheat.
Oh.
Massive expansion of what that Commerce Clause meant to be.
Yeah.
the civil rights cases all use that interpretation to say that Congress can come in here and start saying whether or not you are allowed to have people of segregation, or say black people can't come into my restaurant because your restaurant is a national, like affects the market in a national way. All the civil rights cases in this country, the underlying foundation depends on this very strained interpretation of the Commerce Clause. That is not how, if you were to sit down and think, how can we come up with a legal system that protects minorities' rights, you would not be like, let's take this Commerce Clause thing. But it's all just jury rigged on top of jury rigged on top of that kind of shit.
So how can we use the law to benefit what we need?
Yeah, it's just, and you know, when you run into conservatives, like small c conservatives, legal conservatives who say like you shouldn't be able to do this thing, they're not completely incorrect. It is definitely a very strained interpretation of a rule that was not meant to be used this way, but you're just trying to use whatever you can to advance the results that you want. But that's like, you know, you see that going through the law in almost every single nook and cranny of our system. It's just people trying to use whatever means there are,
because they can't impose the law on the state to say like, you know, you have to let everybody treat everybody equally. Like, or they couldn't at the time say they couldn't impose that law, so they figured
like, what is business of the federal government? That I have like this restaurant on the side of a highway.
I'm a private business owner.
What right does Congress have to come in here and tell me what to do? The court had to say, you know, you have to look around and say, well, this commerce, you know, your restaurant affects interstate commerce because people might not be coming through because there's a market. So yeah, that's what it is, and it's a weak argument. It's a strained argument, but it got the job done.
Did you guys see the R. Kelly documentary?
No, I haven't. I just watched the Fire Festival, which is not at all related. But
this is a brutal.
It's one or the other, you know.
It's a brutal moment where they.
It was a hard decision for me.
I watched both the Fire Festival ones, and it was just so satisfying.
It was so awesome.
There's a moment where they question one of the jurors on who was on that case, and he's just like this dude who's just like, I didn't believe her, and he's just looks like an idiot. You know what I mean? He's just like some idiot who decided that this child, you know, this girl was lying, and it's just insane. Like it's like, okay, so he determined this guy's guilt or innocence. It's fucking crazy. But
but it's like think of another way to do it. You know, it's hard to find some other way to have who are you going to trust to adjudicate the facts of a case. You know?
How could anyone not be biased towards a celebrity, like any juror?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that's why the
in Chicago
lawyers have to try to like weed out those people and do their best. But
the first time I got called into jury duty, there was a guy who just looked like a scumbag. He was getting accused of like cocaine.
Don't tell about the story that's first time we met.
I don't even know.
How dare you?
I can't even. This was years ago. I don't think I'm supposed to talk about this, but it was years ago, and I'm not going to be specific at all. But the defense.
Let's call him Sebastian C.
The defense attorney goes.
Sebastian C.
The defense attorney goes, how many of you? This is to the jury pool or whatever. He's like, how many of you just looking at my client automatically assume he's guilty? And all of us fucking raised our hands.
Wow.
I raised my hand. I was like, that guy's absolutely fucking trafficking cocaine. Like he just looked like he was his face was red. It looked like, you know, he was like a dude who trafficked cocaine.
Yeah. But even him putting that idea in your head, that be aware of your bias, works a lot. You know, because then you're thinking like, no, I gotta once you turn your unconscious bias, you know, once you're aware of it, then you
can disregard it more.
Or at the very least, it helps the opposing side because you might go the other way because you're so worried about appearing biased. You know?
Okay.
So that is a strategy to try and make sure that you're aware of your own bias.
Yeah. So how long were you practicing before you ultimately quit that job?
I did it for 4 years, and then in 2010, at that point I got on a Herald team. I was on a mod team. I had begun to feel that I had done everything I could in comedy that I had the time to do.
Yeah.
And at that point, a lot of my peers were beginning to
get jobs.
Get jobs. And I remember thinking like, I love them. They're all like super talented, but I was also thinking like, I'm also as talented as they are. I could probably do that if I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
And there was no like one moment or the other, but like over the 4 years, I got less and less excited about the law and more excited about comedy. And at some point, it just seemed like the easier thing to just make a shot at it.
Did you tell your parents this gradually, or were they cool about it? Or
Yeah, they were
awesome.
always cool about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They and they also like, they saw me how miserable I was every year.
Christmas
I didn't like what I was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were very supportive. They were very
That's awesome.
Yeah. I was very lucky that and also like it's not as if I was doing this straight out of college. I'd been to law school, I'd been practicing, like it was very clear that I had tried something else.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny if I think like if my kids were to go straight out of college into comedy, I think I would be like very concerned about it.
Really?
I think just because
if they can sustain themselves.
Yeah, there's like a sense of it that, as if you can do anything else, if you like doing anything else, why don't you try
Sure.
that? It's such a It's so haphazard.
It
It's
feels
so-
like something you do if you can't do it, or if you just
That's
like.
literally what it is.
Yeah.
Comedy.
It is,
It's like,
yeah.
I can't physically do other things, so I have to do this.
Yeah,
Like I've done them, but like it's just not.
and
it doesn't work.
And that's the thing that I think someone at 18 or 21 doesn't really know,
Yeah.
or at least isn't. They, I feel like you're much more sure when you're in your late 20s or
Yeah.
mid 20s about what you want to do. Coming right out of college, I would think like, well, see if there's something else you like doing. You don't know yet.
Yeah.
About just the grind of being a comedian or any kind of creative endeavor, acting, dancing, anything just seems like you really have to want to suffer. You really have to be okay with suffering. And I think that seems like hard to tell someone who is, that's hard for someone I feel like at 18 or 21 to know.
And okay with no security.
No security, yeah.
Sure. And it is a lot of pain.
It's a lot of pain, Like, it's a
It
lot
sucks
of
so much.
yeah. I mean, especially like,
Sometimes it's great.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
it helps a lot if you're like, I know this is what I want to do.
Yes,
But
for
like,
sure.
if you don't know what you want to do and you haven't had the chance to experience something else, then I worry that you're going to just end up like losing very precious years of your life where you could have been learning something else.
Totally.
But I mean, like it's weird for me to say that. I know like I've been.
I
fairly
did it right
successful.
out of college. You think I lost precious years?
I think you fucked yourself up, man. I look at you. I see a lost pediatric neurosurgeon.
You never even fucking tried to be a pediatric nurse.
Never once.
How well you could have loved it.
I would have. You know what? I always like.
Messing around in kids' brains. Fucking like,
They would have loved me. They would have went nuts. Oh, here's Sebastian. Oh, hey, kids. Why am I a fucking stuffed animal in this stuff? Hey, kids, it's me.
I love the idea that you're in the ER working on the brains, but you're dressed like fully like a clown.
Well, what's wrong with you little
Doctor,
boy?
please, it's just us nurses. Please don't talk to the kid.
So,
There's been too much blood loss. We're gonna have to call it.
how long after? So 4 years you practice, then you leave to pursue comedy full time. How long do you feel like it took you to become self-sufficient?
I mean, I got really lucky. I got a Daily Show job like 8 months after I quit the law firm.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't recommend.
Damn.
Yeah, it's insanely lucky. It's too lucky. I'm going to pay a price for it later in life. It was. But I also at the same time I've been doing improv and I was in the comedy scene for like 5 or 6 years at that point.
You probably wrote a ton.
I wrote a ton.
Yeah.
I got the job because I got on the recommendation of Hallie Hagland, who I was on an improv team with.
Yeah.
So to that extent, I had made myself available for opportunities.
Yeah.
I had been, so it's not like I just walked out and got a job. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I was very lucky that I did not have to. I didn't have to go broke or anything.
And it
Yeah.
fit your Venn diagram perfectly.
Yeah.
yes, that was the good thing too. I always think like I don't know if the Daily Show got a great deal out of me, but I got a great deal of the Daily Show. I got to be more than ever like absorbing the
I'm
politics.
sure it got a fucking ton out of you.
yeah,
they
I
would have
mean,
gotten rid of you if it
true.
wasn't.
No, I'm the
They
best thing
made
that's
you.
ever happened.
They made you a
on that show.
producer.
Yeah, they made you a producer.
No, they're lucky to have me. Yeah.
No, but how'd you get a ton out of them?
Just because I love politics. I love
Great.
thinking about it. Like, I'm a big news junkie. I'm a big political junkie.
Yeah.
I still love that aspect of that's still a big part of my life. And so being able to talk about it and think about it all day and make jokes about it, just perfect.
Sure. And pointing out the logical flaws. It seems like a lot of what you guys do is point out like just baseline logical flaws of
just
different points of view.
hypocrisy.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's the thing. Like it's also a lot like law in that way, comedy
Yeah.
in general. It's
Yeah.
where you're constantly you just point out like this does not make sense, and you just make a joke instead of argue the case instead. Yeah,
Right,
it's really similar.
Yeah.
So or maybe I'm just saying that just to justify why my law degree. And
I think you're good at noticing like the chink in the armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very racist. I wish you hadn't said that.
Dude, it's okay. We do a Facebook post about this shit. We'll fucking take them
Can't wait
down.
to get on Facebook right now and say this shit.
I legitimately, in the back of my mind, am worried that expression means not what I think. Like I'm like, oh fuck.
No, yeah.
No, man, it's
Go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. It sounds like literally like your life was leading up to you working there
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I like to think so. Yeah, but also it's like so lucky. Like I happen to be able to write the packet at the moment that I quit because I happened to be in a class that at the same time, at the right time, that got me to a Herald team.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a Herald team that was not successful. We were cut right away.
What was your first Herald team?
It was called Reynard, and it was with who were we? Hallie Hagelin was on that team. Rob Cuthill was on that team. Will Story is on that team.
Yeah.
A lot of great people on that team. But Herald teams just aren't successful sometimes.
Yeah.
But just that I happened to be on that Herald team with her, and I got to know her, and we
Right.
stayed friends, and
And she was like, "Let's read this packet."
she recommended me, and it's all the series of coincidences that make that up. Like I don't have any illusions that this was destiny. Like I could just as easily have ended up going back to law and just being a miserable fuck with a second home in in Hudson and on my second wife and just miserable all the way.
Yeah.
See, that's my dream. I can't wait to get
have a
out of this
second home and a
comedy
second
shit. Yeah. Have a home in Hudson.
That's what I'm telling you, man. You jumped into comedy too quickly.
There are two women who wanted to marry me. It sounds amazing.
Well, the thing that I actually think about, that I worry about with when I think about like going, and again, this might be just justifying my own path to it, is I worry that people who go into comedy straight out of like high school or college don't have enough life experience to have their comedy be, speaking to anything more than just. I went to I studied comedy all the time.
Sure.
I don't know if you. I mean, but you also. I don't know. I don't know what
my life was.
Or what it is now. I feel like you also probably have friends that are not in comedy.
Yeah.
You live a lot that's outside of comedy.
Yeah.
Which I think is just really fucking important for comedians. I mean, you can't just be obsessed, doing, open mics every night, hanging with other comedians. Your idea of what a life is gets very warped.
I also had a lot of dense years.
Yeah.
If you know that, they were dense,
Experiential.
of not like law school experiences, but like life experiences.
Yeah. Like what? Like
I just partied a lot and fucked up a lot, and like
the Cali Cartel and shit, just running a lot of.
but just like I like.
Did you get convicted, by the way? They dismissed me.
Yeah, no, let's not talk about that. Never mind. Dog, the bounty hunter, is still looking for me.
He snitched on El Chapo. That's what
No, but I think that's actually why I started doing comedy, was because I couldn't. The life I was living was too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is like, then that's a great
It saved
path
you.
to comedy. Yeah.
Yes.
Then that's fantastic.
Yeah, I needed to leave my life to go to that.
Yeah.
So it was just like, it's,
who also has that? I think it's like Anthony Tamanick.
yes.
Talks about that. Like
Yeah,
he was,
him and I have talked about that a ton.
Yeah. No, that to me is, I mean, having lived life,
Yes.
I think sets you very well up for comedy.
Yes, and it doesn't have to be. There's all different types of life you could live,
All different types.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is wonderful. It just can't be like I was never a comedy nerd.
That's
Never.
fantastic.
I wasn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So everyone that would fucking geek out on not only like Harold teams but all these sketch shows, I had no fucking idea about them. I had no idea, and I couldn't give a fuck about who was on Harold nights.
That's the thing, man. You see, like, like stand-ups and people who, like, their bits are so clearly only for other comedians.
Yeah.
Because they're, they're up their ass so much with all the comedy world and stories, and they're doing bits on bits on bits that no one is outside of the comedians are like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
And that's exactly because they don't have that kind of, they don't know a world outside of other comedians.
Yeah. And it becomes very clear when you start doing shows for non-comedians. I mean, it's like, you have to be funny.
Yeah. I'd say being on a weekend team, especially, like really, once you're out of that milieu where everybody in the audience is another comedy student trying to be on Herald Night, it really shows you like, oh, this audience does not care at all about how clever the format of this thing is or how well structured. You better you better have a sense of, you better bring a sense of humor to the form.
Yeah.
You know, or else it's just, boring as hell.
I will say though that back corner at Chelsea, I would sometimes be like, I am trying to get them. Like
Really?
that was like, I would do shit specifically to get that corner sometimes, just because I wanted to hear that corner. Where the performers were, just like, I wanted it to land there at least a little bit.
Oh, totally. Yeah. That's also like when you're doing like stand up, you're trying to reach the comedians at the back sometimes, stuff like that. But you do that at the cost of like other people.
Totally.
Other people don't understand why you just like referenced what you said earlier, or why you called out that you just made a callback or something.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the kind of thing that I think, it's just kind of know your audience.
It's
I think
inside baseball
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah. And the more experience you have, the more you are aware of when you can. That awareness of who am I trying to reach right now with this? Who gets it? You need to have that kind of. You need to have that experience that allows you to step into other people's shoes and know what they're thinking and what they're looking at when they see you.
It is also less stressful to hang out with people who aren't in comedy. Like it's like you're just like not thinking about work at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't try to explain it to them.
Yeah,
there's no point.
Yeah.
I hate to sound like that, but like the complexity of what I feel about all this shit is too much to go into chit chat about.
Yeah, it's amazing. Actually, when you do talk about it, how you end up sounding like anybody else with a job.
Yes.
It's very like you can see their eyes kind of glaze over too. You're like, oh yeah, they're as bored as I would be if I was talking about like ball bearings in tensile strength. There's
the spinny thing on a revolver.
The spinning thing on a revolver.
Zhubin, this was fucking awesome, man. Thank you
guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
This was really great. It was a really great.
Yeah, I hope I have no idea if we even talked. Did we talk much about law? Well, whatever.
Did we talk about what?
Law?
About like who I was? I don't think we did. But who gives a shit? Yeah.
Who you were when you were at the firm?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it. No, I was just we talked about it. I was just
I wanted to actually be a lawyer when I was a kid. I really wanted to be a lawyer.
What happened?
I started doing drugs and
that doesn't stop anybody I know from being a lawyer. I know a lot of lawyers who are drugged up.
I feel like when I started drinking and smoking weed and doing other stuff, I remember thinking that I was making decisions, but it was like, I want to be a lawyer. And then it became like, maybe I'll go to school for photography. And then it was like, I don't want to go to college. and in my mind, I was making these decisions. and then upon looking back, I actually do want to do stuff.
I tell you, I don't know if being a lawyer is the right. I think you have to have a very specific kind of personality to be a lawyer. So if you aren't like 100% sure you want to be a lawyer, I think it's a good idea not to go to law school, not to be a lawyer.
You're happier now, right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'm much happier. Yeah, I got my dream job in college was writing for the Daily Show, and that's awesome. That's my job now. So,
and did you get to work with? I mean, I know you worked with Jon Stewart, right? So
he was the one who hired me initially. Yeah,
cool.
He didn't like. Well, he did, I guess, personally hire me. Yeah, I didn't want to make it seem like he came to me and was like, "Zhubin, please, I need your."
I love the fact that was like your goal. That's so awesome.
It was legit. The luckiest thing that's ever happened to me, like the fulfillment of it was. I was so lucky that I don't ever want to recommend it to anybody else because it's so rare that happens. Mm-hmm. I just happened to. I was just in the right place at the right time.
Well, you have to have the talent too,
and also I have talent up the wazoo. So dude, goddamn talent. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Do you want to plug anything?
I have my improv show. What I Did for Love every Saturday at 10 p.m. I think. I don't know when this comes out. I think by the time it comes out, it'll be at Subculture. Yeah, Saturday nights at 10 p.m. at Subculture. New space.
Nice. And what time is this daily show? What time is that?
It's 11 o'clock on Comedy Central, Mondays through Thursdays. Please watch. Please purchase the products that are advertised on it. This little basic cable show that could just any little bit.
It's such a good show, man.
It's very much. I've been very lucky to work with like Jon Stewart and now Trevor Noah, just guys who are
that's
just
awesome.
Have senses of humor that are just out of this world. It's very to be in the presence of great comics is maybe the best thing about being a comedian. It's just to be with super funny people who just make you laugh until you cry every day.
Absolutely.
Is it true the studio's cold?
It's so cold.
These are the questions I got. How cold's the studio?
The thing about comedy is it's funny. And that's fun.
All right, I'm Patrick Noth. Follow us at Who You Were Podcast on Instagram and at Who You Were Podcast on Twitter. On Facebook, this is Who You Were Podcast. And I don't know, do you want Twitter? Do you want to plug Twitter?
Oh, yeah, I'm at Zhubin Parang, but I don't tweet very often. But yeah, follow me if you want it. It's a miserable platform, and I hate every day I'm on it.
It's the worst.
Sure.
Follow it.
Thanks to our producer.
Oh, Lindsay Bonell. Yeah. Thank you so much. You
Yeah.
are the fucking best. We really appreciate all the work that you do. We love you guys.
All right, peace.
Thank you for listening to Who You Were. Please subscribe, rate, and review. Guest before and after pics on Instagram at Who You Were Podcast. Send your before and after pics to whoyouwerepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at Who You Were Podcast. This podcast is produced independently. If you'd like to support it, please visit patreon.com/Patrick Noth. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening.